So, how do you know when a tech trend has really hit the big time? When it goes from being this niche thing to just being everywhere. It's not always super obvious, but there are definitely a few signals that tell you a huge shift is underway.
Just think about it for a sec. What's the sign for you? Is it when you see it on the news? Or is it maybe when a new technology just kind of slides into your daily life without you even noticing?
For me, there are a few classic tells. Like when your parents finally call you up and ask, "So, what's this Venmo thing?" Or maybe it's when you get into an Uber and your driver starts giving you this super detailed lecture on Bitcoin. But honestly, the ultimate sign, the one that just screams we've made it, is when these companies start putting their names on giant sports stadiums.
And guess what? That is exactly what's happening right now. We've seen 3 huge stories break recently that by themselves are pretty interesting, but when you put them all together, you see a much bigger pattern emerging. It tells us that Fintech is growing up. It's entering this new, more mature phase that goes way beyond just being another cool app on your phone.
So, here's what we're going to do. We're going to dive into Fintech's big mainstream moment. We'll look at 3 different strategies: the big splash brand play from NuBank, the infrastructure play with BitGo, and the global play with Revolut. And then we'll connect all the dots to really understand this new Fintech stack.
Okay, first up, the brand play. This is all about getting seen. And it takes us on a journey from the financial heart of São Paulo, Brazil, all the way to Lionel Messi's new stomping grounds in Miami. All right, here's the headline. The huge Brazilian digital bank, Nu Holdings, just locked down the naming rights for Inter Miami's new stadium. Yeah, that means the home field of, arguably the most famous athlete on the entire planet, Lionel Messi, is about to become a giant purple advertisement for a fintech company.
And look, this isn't some small startup. We're talking about NuBank, a company that serves over 100 million customers across Latin America. That makes it the biggest digital bank anywhere outside of Asia. For a company that literally built its empire on digital buzz and those famous purple cards, buying stadium rights is a massive strategic flex. It shows they're playing a whole new ballgame.
And this is so much more than just sticking a logo on a building. What we're seeing here is a real shift in thinking. Fintechs like NuBank and SoFi are starting to see these stadiums as, get this, brand distribution channels. It's a way to weave themselves right into the culture.
And just look at how deep it goes. At Inter Miami games, you now literally have what some are calling a fintech sandwich. You've got the neobank Chime as the jersey sponsor, and now NuBank is the stadium sponsor. Just picture it. When Messi scores a goal at home, you literally won't be able to escape the fintech branding. It's everywhere. Okay, so let's move from the super visible top layer to the next level down. We're going from the bright lights of branding to the invisible but absolutely essential plumbing of the whole financial system. This is the infrastructure play, and our key player here is a company called BitGo.
So what in the world does BitGo do? Well, they're experts in something called crypto custody. Think of it like this. They build a super secure digital Fort Knox for crypto. It's the infrastructure and the services needed to keep digital assets safe for their big-time clients, like banks and investment funds. And they've been doing it for a long, long time.
And here's where it all connects. SoFi got all the headlines for launching its new stablecoin, right? But the real story, the one happening behind the scenes, is that BitGo is the quiet engine making it all possible. They're handling all the critical back-end stuff. And that is a huge deal. Why? Because it means they're not just working with crypto companies anymore, they're providing the core tech to a major, regulated mainstream bank.
This really flips the script on how we've been thinking about the future of finance. For years, the whole conversation has been about whether banks are eventually just going to turn into crypto companies.
But this whole situation suggests a totally different future. It might not be about banks becoming crypto. Instead, the future might be crypto infrastructure companies quietly becoming the hidden plumbing that powers traditional banks from the inside out. Here's the best analogy. Think about Amazon Web Services, AWS. It's the invisible cloud computing backbone that a huge chunk of the internet runs on. Well, in this new world of digital finance, BitGo is positioning itself to be the AWS. That's a massive, massive ambition. And that brings us to our third and final layer, the global play. This is where things get really intense. It's about the fierce international competition that's now heating up right here in the US, with the London-based powerhouse Revolut making a major move. Now, this actually isn't Revolut's first rodeo in the United States. They tried to launch back around 2020, but it was a bit weak. It was basically a prepaid debit card that worked through other banks. It never really caught on. But this time, it's a completely different story. They are now applying for a full-blown U.S. banking charter. That signals a much more serious, much more ambitious plan to get deep into the American market.
And they are walking into a full-on brawl. The US already has its own heavyweights, right? You've got SoFi, Chime, Cash App, but now you have these ambitious global challengers, NuBank, Revolut, Klarna, all stepping into the ring. The American fintech scene is no longer a local league. It's a global battlefield.
So the main takeaway here is simple, but it's really powerful. The days of digital banking being a domestic-only affair, those are over. The global neobank wars have officially landed in the United States.
All right, let's bring it all home. Let's tie these three different stories together. We've looked at a brand play, an infrastructure play, and a global play. So, how do they fit together to paint one clear picture of where all this is going? Well, the best way to see it is as three layers of a new tech stack. Right at the top, you've got the brand layer. This is the flashy part you can see, where a company like NuBank buys stadium naming rights to get in front of millions of eyeballs. Then you dig down a bit, and you find the infrastructure layer. This is where companies like BitGo are becoming the invisible but absolutely critical plumbing for the entire system. And all of that rests on the competitive layer, where global giants like Revolut are turning what used to be local markets into an all-out international war. So here's the ultimate point of all of this. We are watching a massive industry-wide shift happen in real time. Fintech is officially graduating. It's moving far beyond just making clever apps for your phone. It has become a serious game of global brand building, creating foundational infrastructure, and battling in a fierce international arena.
Which leaves us with one last kind of provocative question to chew on. As all these forces start to collide, where is the future of your bank actually being built? Is it in Sao Paulo with NuBank? In London with Revolut? Or is it still right here in Silicon Valley? Suddenly the answer isn't so simple anymore, is it?